Hey, this is Pastor Jonathan, and today we're going to be talking about living biblically at school. And I have two wonderful men of God who will be conducting this interview with me. I have Mr. Hezekiah DelValle and Caleb Bruno. So we're going to be talking about, kind of navigating life as a student. So, Hezekiah, I'm going to start with you. As a student, what are some of the challenges that you face when you try to live biblically, when you're surrounded by kids who are trying to navigate their faith to figure things out?
So, I would say it really depends with the people that you're around with. Obviously we're all different, everyone's not the same, but everyone has different backstories. And a lot of those backstories, it can involve struggling, having faith with God, or maybe it's doubting God. And sometimes you really gotta think about have I ever been in that situation? And that's the most challenging part, is trying to figure out what you can do to those who are struggling in their faith, and what can you do to help them get back on track and to leading towards as to why you should have your faith towards God a lot.
Good. Caleb, you're an athlete and you're around, a bunch of kids who are doing sports. So how do you live out your faith, and what are some of the challenges that you run into when you try to live out your faith?
Working out, or when you're working out with finding your group. You're working out with finding who you want to be with around in school, and that's a challenge. That's a challenge by itself without putting your faith into it. But when you have your faith and you want to stay strong in your faith, it's something that you have to work at even harder, because a lot of people don't. It's not spoken about that much at school, because people don't. It's more of it sounds like a politic, and it doesn't sound like a real thing anymore. It's not like a regular conversation to face-to-face people, I would say.
So it's hard to find that groove. Have you ever had to defend your faith among your peers, Hezekiah?
I wouldn't say I defended my faith. I don't think there's ever been a time I had to defend my faith, but there has been times where I had to separate myself from others, because there's people that I'll go through and they're either be negative towards me or they act a certain way towards me. And I don't want that to affect the way I am as a person, especially right now after everything I've accomplished. So what I do is I separate myself, but at the same time, as I separate myself, I keep my faith towards God. That way I don't lose anything that I have, but at the same time, I don't let nothing discourage me or have to do anything to defend my faith to anybody.
Caleb, how have you had to defend your faith or explain to people what it means to be a Christian as you navigate through school?
I would say another thing I wouldn't have to defend my faith, but I would have to why is it important to me? I would say that is a big thing that I've had to do, because a lot of people want to go out partying or want to go out just doing something that doesn't fall into what I need to do in my life. And it's I don't really want to associate myself with that. So I had to explain that I don't do that. I'm just I'd rather stay home, rather just chill, watch TV, stuff like that.
What's the hardest thing you guys have had to deal with, or what's the hardest thing about being a Christian today as a young person? And Hezekiah, I'll start with you.
Oh, as a young person, and especially having this to involve around school, you have to face continuous, and I mean continuous obstacles and challenges. I like to think of it to myself, and every time I experience one, it's like a maze. The maze is your obstacle and your challenge. But the thing that people will try to do is they try to direct themselves into a way of how they can get out of it, but it just leads them to a dead end. And they don't realize that God's the one that's going to help you get to the end of that obstacle. Now, even though you go to God and He helps you get to the end of that obstacle, it's going to continuously go on and on forever. But the main goal is for you to stay with God, so that way it can continuously happen that God can help you get out of that maze of those obstacles and challenges. But I would say the hardest thing that I can most definitely say that many young people, especially myself, is something hard to go through is definitely the obstacles and challenges they have to face in school, whether it's like work, alcohol, addiction, like the stuff like that, really.
How important is your personal life and how you carry yourself in front of your peers as you try to live biblically at school?
That's really important for me to like give off a image of God, like for me to be a person of like they know that I like to give off that image, and that's like I keep that in high regard. I want that like to when they look at me, I want them to see that.
Thank you, guys. So Caleb and Hezekiah have talked about what it means to live biblically at school and how it's important to live out your faith even at a young age. So thank you for joining us for this time of living biblically at school.